Max Verstappen has been connected to a spectacular move to Mercedes yet again, after Toto Wolff has sparked the controversial talk yet again with his latest statements. But with Red Bull being rapidly caught by the rest of the grid, could Verstappen look for a new environment from 2026 onwards? And if so, is Mercedes the perfect fit now that they've openly admitted that they're not willing to commit to any driver until the Verstappen saga is over? It goes without saying that Verstappen is one of the hottest prospects on the market, that while has a contractual obligation with Red Bull until 2028, managed to find himself in some murky waters when it comes to being signed by another team and getting out of Red Bull. A massive contribution here is the fact that Red Bull no longer have the dominance they had with the RB19, with every high-profile member from the Austrian squad admitting that they will no longer experience the unicorn year they did last campaign. But how does Verstappen blend into this entire story? For example, if you look at the performance of Perez, you'd notice the massive difference that a talented and championship-winning driver makes. The Mexican driver managed to only grab 8 points in the last 4 venues, while Verstappen has almost outscored the entire team of Mercedes by himself. All of this goes to show that he cannot keep carrying the momentum like this forever, something that was admitted by Helmut Marko as well, as both of them called the team out in order to bring more performance out of the car if they want to have a more stable platform to work with in the foreseeable future. But all of this has been used by Toto Wolff, who managed to cut around half a second of advantage to Red Bull thanks to fixing the correlation issues between their simulator and the on-track performance. Allison has been quite adamant that the team will continue to bring upgrades, but didn't want to reveal the timeline because of the competitive edge that is present in 2024. But regardless of this, the focus is on Verstappen, and when being asked about the driver's decision from 2025 onwards, the Austrian team principal went on to say, "I think it's Max who wins the races and not Red Bull. The RB20 is solid, but Perez isn't doing well. It's Max who makes all the difference. Horner said that Max will stay, but let's see. We will leave him with this idea. We will see if the W15 will be a car that can convince Max." Definitely, Mercedes are now making huge moves, and the fact that they were competitive on a track that is more or less representative for the remainder of the season, Barcelona, gives them a lot of hope that the situation will change in their favour and they will be able to challenge the top teams more frequently. This put a huge smile on Hamilton's face last week, but with him departing the team from 2025 onwards, Mercedes also got to work on the future of the drivers' lineup, and with Wolff admitting that it might be too early for Antonelli to be put in the fire with a W16 and be burnt out due to the hype around him, it's very likely that Mercedes will keep chasing Verstappen in the following period. The fact that Red Bull are now in huge danger of losing the competitive edge with the new regulations, due to the fact that it's going to be very close field and the advantage should belong to the experienced engine manufacturers such as Mercedes and Ferrari, even Honda can be put in this mix, goes to show that it's not exactly the environment in which Max wants to thrive in. The development war is something that needs to be paid very close attention to, because it's now evident Red Bull have reached the top of the curve, and what's more important is that since Miami, they haven't had the best car on the grid, but Verstappen still managed to win 3 out of these 5 races, losing out only in Miami and Monaco. It doesn't take a genius to understand that the Austrian squad is turning into a one-man show, and although Perez's P8 finish in Spain helped the team in extending the lead in the Constructors' Championship, if Verstappen is not finishing P1, both of the championships will be under a massive threat. Many have dubbed this to be the start of the downfall of Red Bull, that has been further sparked by the fact that the Verstappen family refused to give further comments as to whether or not the 3-time world champion will end up respecting his contract into 2028, as it's now inevitable that the upcoming year as well as the remainder of 2024 are going to be a massive challenge for Red Bull. Even the CEO of Mercedes, Ola Källenius, has flirted with the idea of having Max in the team, and while the talks between the Verstappen clan and the holy trio of Mercedes shareholders didn't happen amid all the rumours, it's now obvious that the primary goal for the Silver Arrows is the Dutchman, and they won't be satisfied with anything less than that. When talking about this scenario becoming a reality, Källenius said, "The best driver wants to have the best car, and that's our job, to bring the best package together. The cards will be reshuffled in 2026, it's new order with new rules. That's also an opportunity. Who knows, but I think Max would look good in silver, wouldn't he?" This goes to show that F1 is a cruel sport that doesn't revolve around one driver, and if you have an opportunity to sign the current best driver on the grid, and probably a name that will go down as one of the greatest to ever do it in this sport, then you're definitely going to go for it. But if you understand Verstappen and his statements from the past, you definitely come to an agreement that he's always looking to have the best car in his hands. When he doesn't, he's maximizing everything out of it, and many have questioned whether or not he would have been miles ahead had he been placed in the MCL 38. But nonetheless, the reality in which we live right now is that Verstappen himself has a very uncertain future amid the power shift drama in Red Bull. And while he committed to the contract he signed back in 2022, changes could be applied sooner rather than later. When talking about his importance to the latest wins as well as positive results for Red Bull, who have been outscored by McLaren in the last 4 races and are barely holding a competitive edge to Ferrari and Mercedes in this span, Helmut Marko went on to say, "Max can't drive at the limit like that for a whole season. The overtaking maneuver on George that put him in the lead in Barcelona was exceptional, even for him. But Max wins because he's so confident, not because the car is great." Obviously, Red Bull are paying a lot of attention to what's happening in the other garages, but according to Verstappen, this is a process that will waste their energy, as they have to focus on something much more important, which is putting a lot of performance in their car in order to keep the competitive edge for Verstappen in the remainder of the season. A massive hit will be given to Verstappen earlier than expected, given the fact that the Montreal engine is not recoverable. So the one that Verstappen took in Spain is the 4th, last allowed one. Therefore, a 10-place penalty is waiting for him, and with this high competitiveness, it will be a massive hit in the Drivers' Championship, despite other drivers facing the issue further down the line as well. When talking about the other teams' developments, Verstappen said, "You can dream about potential improvements from other teams, but that's just a waste of energy. So I'm just very busy on trying to optimize my package and try to make it better, discussing a lot of things with the engineers and trying to find solutions to stay on top. It all depends on what the teams are going to bring to their car. I mean, I can't look at what they're doing at the moment. The only thing I can control is within our team, what we're going to bring, and that's what I'm focused on." And a massive change could be visible in Mercedes' garage as well, because Allison himself said that the car is now a lot more responsive from the upgrades that are being mounted on the car. And what is even more important is that they could be enough to fight in both championships in a much closer manner. Be that as it may, Marko is adamant that this can only help Verstappen due to the fact that the Mercedes duo will take more points out of McLaren and Ferrari, but with the Silver Arrows being way too behind the P1 positions in both championships, this can only benefit Red Bull in 2024. However, that is something that cannot be said for 2025, because Verstappen will be looking closely into his options, and if he acknowledges that he will be much better in Mercedes, this would send massive shockwaves throughout the entire F1 grid. Not only would that mean that the downfall of Red Bull has started, but it would also put the drivers like Russell in imminent danger, given the fact that Mercedes are invested in Antonelli, and there's a scenario in which the one-time race winner won't be racing with the Silver Arrows, despite him being dubbed as the leader of the team in the upcoming future. With all of this in mind, do you think that Verstappen will join Mercedes in the foreseeable future? And if so, do you think that it would be a good move for his career? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that appears on your screen right now.